You know, my favorite story from the American Revolution, I actually just realized, ties right here to North Carolina. There was a revolutionary patriot by the name of Captain Levi Preston, one of the original Minutemen, fought in the original battles, Lexington, Concord. And there's a story of a historian by the name of Mellon Chamberlain. He's traveling around the country and he's collecting the stories of the original Minutemen, the last remaining patriot fighters. This is actually 1843, so these fighters are really old. At the time they're in their late 80s, early 90s. I mean, we know a lot of people like that now, but back in 1843, that's really rare. Chamberlain knows that if he doesn't collect these oral histories, they're going to disappear forever, right? And so he is finding all of these guys that he can find, and he comes across Captain Levi Preston here in North Carolina. And he interviews him about the causes of the great fight, the Great Revolution, and what brought him to fight. At the time, by the way, Preston, young Captain Preston, was 23 years old. He had a family. He was a farmer. He had everything to lose, and yet he went to fight. And so Chamberlain asks him the big questions, why did you go to fight? If you look up this story online, you'll find Chamberlain's very self-deprecating. He talks about that he knew nothing about the real causes of the American Revolution, but he thought he knew everything at the time, and he was asking these questions. And he asks him, when you fought the American Revolution, when you went out that day to face the Redcoats, did you go because of the Stamp Act? You know, were you frustrated by having to buy all those stamps? And what Preston responds is, stamps? I never bought any of those. The governor locked them in the armory. We never heard anything else about it. So he asks him about the tax on tea. What, were you outraged by the tea tax? He says something like, no, the boys dumped it in the harbor. I never drank tea. We didn't really know nothing about it except for we thought that was pretty funny. So it's not the tea tax. So he asks them a broader question. Were you reading the great revolutionaries like Burke? And he names a bunch of the great revolutionary writers. And he says, never heard of any of those men whom you speak of. We read the Bible, Psalms, Almanac. That was about it. And so he's a little bit frustrated. His theories about the American Revolution are evaporating when he's talking to a guy that actually fought it. And he asked him, well, maybe it was just the heavy hand of British tyranny. You just had it. And he said, never felt a whit of it. So he's run out of theories, and he asks him, what is it? What is it that brought you onto the field of battle? Remember, this great patriot now retired here in North Carolina, and he responds with what I think is the most succinct summary of the philosophy of the American Revolution all the way until today, and I think it still describes us today in this room. He said this, son, when we went out to face them redcoats that day, we meant only one thing. We had always governed ourselves, and we always intended to. And them redcoats, they intended that we shouldn't. That was it. It was all about self-governance. And we read the history, we read Patrick Henry's speeches, and give me liberty or give me death, and Washington on the white horse, and we read all these stories of incredible people doing incredible deeds, but the real American Revolution was fought by real people, just like you and me, because we believe in self-governance. Our organization is Citizens for Self-Governance, because that's what we fundamentally believe. It's an outrageous belief in all of human history that we have the right, the God-given right, to decide for ourselves. So when you are talking to your legislators, when you are talking to your friends about this, I implore you to focus on who decides. Levi Preston said, we the people decide, and I say today that I, all of you and your legislators that support you, agree. We, the people, decide. So thank you guys for being here today. Really appreciate it. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.